Hello, and thank you for attending the Harrington Group International discussion about supplier quality PPAP review process and how we can transition from a waste of time to being powerful and helpful. Great attendance today. I mean, supplier quality engineers and the suppliers are very frustrated with some of the new PPAP requirements coming from the across the supply chain. We're going to talk a little bit about what causes the frustration and how we may be able to solve it. Standard webinar protocol, the phones are muted, but we would like to have your questions, so please enter them into the question block. There's a lot of collateral that you can download during the event. If you have any problems with that, just let me know and we'll send it to you. And there will be a certificate of attendance provided by those attending today. What we're going to discuss is the Harrington PPAP document authoring tool, one that's better than Excel, but not too complicated. The subjects are, and this first one is very important in trying to explain the different viewpoints in your company. The PPAP process participant rules. Different people are trying to get different things done, and it's important to understand that. Then some improvements that make it a little bit easier. Talk about just the supplier PPAP process and review and some next steps possible. So this section is really important, the participant roles. There's basically three levels. Executives that are looking for oversight, the analytics, the analysis of, the first thing they want to know is all the time and money we're spending on PPAP, are we getting a return on investment from it? Managing the PPAP process is where the supplier PPAP activity goes. But what we're going to talk about is more than just project management workflow. And then the third level that impacts oversight and impacts all of them, is how are we executing the document authoring process and maintaining the documents. So different roles have different needs, but the first message is we got to get off spreadsheets to get the analytics, and project management is project management. But here's one of the things we need to understand. A lot of top executives I speak with say we've already digitized or automated the PPAP process. And what they're referring to is they have a project management tool or a supplier portal or somewhere where we keep track of who's doing what, and we upload a bunch of spreadsheets or PDF files to it. That is significantly different than the document authoring process, where we're creating the knowledge engineering, the process flow, the PFMEA, control plan, gauge studies. And the challenge is the project management is kind of easy, and that's where 80% of the effort is spent in most companies. The document authoring is the hard part, and that's where not a whole lot of time is spent from an executive viewpoint. And, again, project management is project management. If you missed a deadline, that's a bummer. But when we talk about document authoring, when we talk about the knowledge engineering, this is where we get product recalls, scrap, defects. All the true costs that we're trying to avoid. So how do we make the PPAP a live document? First and foremost, what the SQEs tell me is it's got to be easy to find. A lot of times they're talking with suppliers, they're trying to work with them, and they can't even find it. And if they find it in whatever project management or portal or SharePoint drive or wherever they put it, the follow-up question is it the current revision? Now, once they get it, is there a way to review it that's easier and faster? Is there a way to maintain it? And probably one of the most important parts of the document authoring process is bringing the right side of the FMEA to life. So what we want to talk about is how do we make the review process easier, faster, and more effective to get to zero defects or to get rid of all those failure costs. How do we lower supplier frustrations? A lot of suppliers I talk to is this is too complicated. It's just a bunch of paperwork. some of the newer industries that are just starting to adopt it. Of course, the suppliers are saying, I'll do it, but it's going to cost you. So again, this making it a live document, showing value both to your organization as an SQE, but also to your supply chains, and improving prevention in the PFMEA. So a couple of basic things. Whatever tool you're going to, whatever place that this is put to, the documents you're trying to find as an SQE, it should be seamless access. You shouldn't have to log out, log in, go somewhere and find it. You need a faster ability to find the current document, not just a document. Some of the SQEs will tell me, yeah, I was talking to a supplier, I was going through their FMEA, and they said that FMEA is, 2 years old, that we've updated and sent you 3 different revisions to it. And then again, the idea of getting off spreadsheets and go to a database, there's just a lot of horsepower in searching, sorting. You could do it real time with the supplier, real time conversations when you're looking at it. Just simple things like, sorting by severity, occurrence detection, the RPA information. Again, this right side of the PFMEA, get action items, status, and effectiveness. And of course, one of the things we want to know are all the critical characteristics addressed. So what does this look like? If you just had the ability to go into the supplier's PFMEA, and just sort on things. There's a material issue. I want to know what they did or where they addressed material. And if it's in 3 different sections, it highlights it and brings it to you. It's just a fast way to get it. Now, I've had people say, well, I can do that in Excel. I know, but can you do it without breaking the file? What I mean by that is sometimes we get into spreadsheets and we search and sort, and we didn't get all the columns correctly, and then the document that we're using really isn't valid anymore, so you got to close it, start over. Just simple things, simple things like sorting on RPNs. The other thing that's important for both the suppliers and the SQEs is just a change log. What do we change? Who do we change it? How did it evolve over time? How do we put it all together? Another example is, and this is breaking the spreadsheet story, in a database system, it automatically merges fields. Now in Excel, I've got to merge those myself. So this is where I merged it wrong. I unmerged it. I did a sort with a merge. It didn't work. So again, just getting into a better environment where we can see, view, and review things without, and I said breaking the spreadsheet, but it's really breaking the knowledge or the information that we're trying to review and see. So how do we lower supplier frustrations? This is just an example out of the aerospace industry. The engine group did a survey, and first of all, APQP and PPAP was the highest challenge from the aerospace supply chain. The other point they made is, oh, by the way, the suppliers work with 3.75 average engine companies. So, yeah, they're frustrated. They're not quite sure how to do it. Some companies are saying, here's a spreadsheet, good luck. But more importantly is, do I have to use different spreadsheets for all the different customers? It just really gets annoying. So the Harrington Group has provided a better approach and better solution to do that. Now, this section is really important. For those of you familiar with the PFMEA, the right side of the PFMEA is where we're supposed to put in all the things to reduce risk, improve our ability to detect it, reduce occurrence. And again, when suppliers are honest with me, they said, no, we really don't do that. I mean, we put a couple things in when we send it to the customer because, they want to have something in there. But they said, John, I've got, 50 different parts I'm trying to manage across 10 different customers. I don't have any way to go across all those spreadsheets and keep track of what's assigned to me. So again, in a database, you can just click on it and say, show me all the PFMEA or DFMEA tasks assigned to me, and go directly to those records. Once you're in the record, you have the ability to say, show me the things assigned to me, show me all the activity going on. So again, getting out of the spreadsheet helps you a little bit. And I know that everybody has probably different ways of doing this, but in general, a purchase order usually drives a PPAP request, and that purchase number is part number and revision level driven. That's fine. It would be nice if engineering could provide part data with the product characteristics, the critical characteristics that they've identified, maybe from their DFMEA. The supplier goes through and does all the document authoring, and this is part of what we're talking about to make that better, quicker, easier, and submits the paperwork and the forms, and then there's a review. And again, the flexibility that some customers only want full submissions. Some customers want partial submissions. As soon as you got it, send it to me. And then there's the whole resubmit process. So how do we lower the frustrations for the suppliers? Harrington has been working on a solution to, can we use a single app for our customers? And by the way, if the answer is yes, the suppliers will pay for it. How do I know that? Because they've told me time and time again. If I could get one tool that I can use with all my customers, I'm happy to use it. Still working with some of the customers on the supply chain side about, some suppliers have bubble diagram tools that exported out of 2D or 3D drawings. A lot don't, especially the mom and pop shops. So it'd be nice if engineering could submit that characteristic list. Provide training on using process families. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And, the suppliers, ironically, listen to what you ask them to do. And sometimes they say, well, look, I did change my process. It's not PO driven. How do I submit back to you a new PPAP? Because you told me to do it every time we change the process. And project management tools do this, but I put it as a line item because suppliers just bring it up a lot. Is my PPAP approved? And by the way, for a supplier, that's very important because a lot of times I can't ship until it's approved. Is it conditional? And if it is, why is it conditional? Or is it rejected, and why? And the why is probably the most important part. A lot of the tools will say accept, reject, and send, but it doesn't tell them why. So what would a review process look like that would be possible when working with a database? The first one that I did a quick example on, I'm either at the supplier or I'm in receiving and there's a problem with the material. I'd like to quickly get the current PFMEA and be able to search material, because what I want to know is the problem we're seeing, did we miss it? I mean, it was in the PFMEA and how we detected it didn't work, or was it not in the PFMEA at all? And it may or may not be a surprise. A lot of times it's not in the PFMEA at all. Back to the right side of the PFMEA, are the action items effective? We did this. Did it work? We did this. We tried that. We've got to get the action items into a database that allows project managers and analytics to go through and say, is it working? When the supplier quality engineers or supply chain people are getting together, have you seen this problem before? Is this a new supplier that we gave it to that's not aware of it? Are there other suppliers that we're using for the same part that don't know about it? Again, as soon as we get out of a bunch of standalone, non-integrated spreadsheets stored in some project management tool, all these type of questions can be part of the review process and brought to light. Maybe there was a risk reduction effort under the PFME action items that worked. Can we use it in other places? And again, back to the one that a lot of SQEs say is, John, I've got to make sure all the key characteristics are covered in the control plan. Simple things. Now, in order to tie this kind of thing together, the idea of integrating this into your organization, again, remember the single sign-on. I don't even know I left the app. It's just part of our process, how we do things. Data coming over from engineering, purchase orders coming down from ERP, maybe some actual data coming up, and how do we connect that across the global supply chain? Now, the other thing that's really cool about this is as soon as we adopt a database-driven document authoring tool for suppliers, when we start sending data back and forth, we can now send data packets versus simply uploading spreadsheets and PDF files. That means the data, the knowledge that the suppliers gave, it's kind of like EDI or electronic data interchange. It's just sending data back and forth that enables all sorts of reviews and analytics that aren't possible today. Let's talk more about reporting analytics. This was the oversight people. The people are trying to figure out, we're spending a lot of time and money on this PPAP thing. Is it working? And by the way, of course, your customer supply chain people want to know, but your executives in your company want to know. If you pick a complex part, maybe an aircraft engine or a car or a sophisticated medical device, there's a lot of parts in them coming from a lot of suppliers. I mean, billions and billions of lines of records and spreadsheets. We still don't know, is it working? Are the costs going down? So what we need to do is find a better way to put your data to work, gain insights, make better decisions. Give me an analysis by part, by supplier, by our location. Give me trends on the causes of failure. What are the most common causes of failure? What detection controls are working or not working? What common effects of failure are we seeing? Is it a repeatable failure mode? This is how both your supply chain and your suppliers can start analyzing what's now held hostage in billions of lines of records and spreadsheets. So one of the things when I showed the diagram about connecting PLM and ERP and MES, the real eye-opener is when we start connecting failure costs to all this activity. That's how we're going to start finding the ROI. How well, and remember, in a lot of these things when we're authoring them, occurrence, detection, severity, you're guessing a number between 1 and 10, I think it might happen. But what if we had real data coming back and on occurrence and said, we didn't think this would hardly happen, and it's happening more than we thought. It actually happened 30 times last month. Or detection. We thought our detection was really good, but apparently it's being discovered by the customer and not us. Or severity. Severity is, there's safety security issues, obviously, but, it costs a lot more than we thought. And again, back to failure modes. Have we seen this before? Do we know the defect costs? Can we error-proof it? All sorts of things that can bring it together. So the idea of the ROI is coming from moving from spreadsheets to a database. A lot of companies that are using the Harrington tool, their ROI started with something simple, just labor savings. Just the time it takes to do the reviews and do the submission and authors them. But it's also labor savings to your suppliers. And again, especially in contract manufacturing, if you want us to do it, we're going to charge you. There is an ability to enable your supply chain to get off the we're going to charge you mantra and over to, oh, yes, of course we do PPAP. It's part of our business. It's part of how we run our company. But again, when we start connecting to actual cost, the material savings, how we get to zero defects, that's pretty standard. It's less MRB activity, return to supplier, scrap, rework, repair, use as in all those things cost delays in production and scheduling and cost real money. That's where the integration starts to bring it together. And they're just simple, basic productivity improvements. eliminates delays in receiving due to unknown PPAP status. Whether it's from your shipping department, we can't ship unless it's approved, or you already shipped, and your customer is saying it's in receiving. I don't know if I can use these yet because I don't know if the PPAP's approved. I emphasize enough, but probably can't emphasize enough, better PFMEA action item tracking, and significantly improve the knowledge from supplier data with supplier analytics. A little bit about Harrington Group. We have been in business since 1991 with 45,000 customers, been using the tool. Our team is focused on cost-effective quality management software that evolves as your business grows. And the entire mantra behind this webinar has been, how do we do things that reduce costs and improve performance? Harrington also has robust HQMS, the Harrington Quality Management System, with a complete set of modules, and a very popular supplier portal that is used to bring a lot of activities to life beyond just the PPAP that we talked about today. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. It says, please explain more about sending data packets. What I was referring to in that is, if your organization makes a decision to get off spreadsheets and go into a database, the database repository at your company and the global supply chain enables us to start sending data back and forth, not just files. And I mentioned EDI, the electronic data interchange, that was started by automotive back in, 80s. That thing was based on inventory and financial records, shipping notices. Well, it's the same idea. It's just a different data set. Like, there's one more question. How do I convince management to move away from spreadsheets to a better solution? I don't necessarily have a quick answer to that, but it goes back to the ROI slide. It goes back to, and again, a lot of companies justify just on labor savings, but we've got to work with your accounting group to see if we can connect the failure costs with what's going on. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of parts in your organization have been automated. I already mentioned accounting. Accounting said we had too much inventory, so we put in inventory ERP systems. The engineers wanted to get off drawing boards, so we gave them CAD, and now we gave them CAD, PDM, and now PLM. Or even like this, if you look at why maybe in your shop you spent more money on new machines or new measuring equipment, remote lasers or something like that, all of that was based on an ROI. I think the shortest answer I can give you is work with your accounting group that reviews the ROI calculations, help them or have them help you calculate it, and basically go from there. So if you'd like to get more information about this and schedule a demo with your team, we can be reached at sales@hgint.com or give us a call at 1-800-ISO 9000. Again, thank you for your time.